to Kayak Costume with the Athlete section. Today we have a special guest who runs track for Oklahoma State University, and I'll let her introduce herself.
Hi, my name is Isis Grant, and I run track at Oklahoma State, and I'm a sophomore.
Like she mentioned, she's a sophomore and runs multiple events, including mostly the 600 yards for indoor, and her main event is 800 meter for outdoor. Last year, she received the 2024 Indoor All Big 12 for her 600-yard performance, and she's ready to show up and show out this year as well. So we'll get into all of that.
Yes.
All right. So first thing, I want to kind of like to introduce you some more, and kind of like talk about how we know each other. A lot of the times I reach out to different athletes just like on social media to get them to talk on here, but I already knew you.
hmm
It's been for like I don't even know how many years now, but my brother, London started running track when I was 15, and that was like, ooh, how many years is that? A long time ago. I want to say 8 years ago, 7, 8 years ago, give
Okay.
or take. That's a long time. But yeah, and then
Yeah.
when he was running, that's how we met you and your family over to Dry Face Track Club, and just kind of saw all the hard work you've been putting in over the years, and just getting to where you are now and still working hard and striving for the stars is really inspiring to see. And I definitely wanted to get you on here to tell your story. So I'm excited.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, we definitely have known each other for quite some time, so it is nice to kind of catch up and talk in this type of setting.
Yeah, exactly. Because now it's like we're both young adults. It's
Right,
like a
yeah.
level playing field now. That's pretty interesting.
For sure.
That's really nice. So tell me about college life. Has it met up to your expectations? What are some things you were looking into as far as college as a whole? Some things you was like, oh, I can't wait to go to college and do this. And has it met your expectations? Some things you just kind of like enjoy about life in general there?
Yeah, I mean, when I first came to college, I go to school in Stillwater, which is for someone that grew up only 30 minutes outside of Atlanta. It was kind of a culture shock just because this is not a major city whatsoever. It's kind of just like the school going for it, and that's about it.
Mm.
So coming into Stillwater, I kind of knew what I was getting into. And it did shock me, and it was a little bit of an adjustment at first because I thought I could handle the stillness of it all. But it took some time to kind of just get used to everything, and finding a connection with like my teammates and friends outside of track helped with kind of the distance away from my friends and family from back home. I'd say as far as like my expectations, I I was I've always had a lot of independence, even when I was back home, my high school years and things like that. I felt pretty ready for what college would look like, considering my class load was like a dual enrollment student, so I was always off campus in high school my senior year, and then I had practices, so it kind of already felt like I was living this little college lifestyle back home in my parents' house. So when I got to college my freshman year, and even now, I was just able to adjust very smoothly. It wasn't a hard transition whatsoever.
That's good to hear, and like it makes a big difference when you're already enrolled in certain like college classes and have that independence at home. So it's like when you transition to being on your own and doing more coursework and harder like loads, it's not really that bad. It's like, oh, okay, I mean, it's just a continuation of what I've been
Mm-mm.
doing at a different level. I feel that.
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
started off because we went to, well, I didn't go to the same high school you went to. My other brother did, but we was in the same
hmm
county. And I didn't get to public school until I was 16. So I was a junior. Before that, I was homeschooled. And it was kind of the same thing where I was kind of used to working on my own schedule, like the work
Yeah.
online or just like things to turn in dual enrollment. And then once I did dual enrollment again my senior year, like you said, it was kind of like I was off campus a lot. I only had to go to school for like two classes, so it was like, I mean, I'm just chilling.
Yeah.
So it is nice to have like, a transition over to college. It's like, oh, okay, I'm just, it's a continuation. It's nothing super daunting.
Exactly.
How is
Not daunting
yeah,
at all.
yeah. So how is being a student athlete and just having that life, because it's one thing to go to college and be a student and keep up with the work and meet friends, and then you have your athletics as well. So how are you able to navigate and focus both of them at the same time? And do you think you kind of like have your schedule down packed now, or is it a little bit something you're still working on?
Well, I'd say to be a student athlete in general, high school or in college, I mean, it takes discipline. You have to be able to know, you have to just allocate the time that you need for certain things and be mature enough to realize that you won't be a part of everything. Um, for me, I think being able to kind of manage my time and all my schoolwork and practices, it was pretty easy just because that was something that I've always been like kind of on top of my things as far as like classes and school and practice and stuff like that. I will say once we're in season, which is more so in the spring, it gets a little bit harder because now you add in traveling every weekend or every other weekend, which is like, who wants to come home and do microbiology homework after sitting on a bus or being at a track meet for 12 hours? Like, you don't really want to do it, but just those little things like working on the bus while you're driving to the meets, or like maybe if you have some downtime at the meet. I'm someone that's sometimes working at the meet because I know if I feel like doing it right now, I need to do it now because I might not feel like doing it later. And that's really, really important when you're a student athlete because the energy and the time that you have is it's important to value it yourself and making sure that you're also surrounded with people that also value that those things. So like my teammates were all really, really good with staying on top of our work, and usually every Sunday we're at a coffee shop for hours after practice just trying to catch up on the work or get ahead for the week ahead. So it's nice having a support system that also is like trying to achieve the same things that I'm trying to achieve.
Yeah, agreed. I think, and I like how you mentioned a few points you mentioned. One of them was kind of knowing yourself now. Like, once it's in my head now, let's go ahead and get it done because my future self
Mm,
will thank me. If I don't do
yes.
it now, I'm gonna be so upset I have to do it later on. Especially after a long meet, it's like, oh my gosh, and I got this homework, I got a paper to write. What do you
Oh,
mean?
yeah. I've been in a couple of scenarios my freshman year where I decided to like kind of wait to the
Hmm.
last minute, and I was definitely on a bus ride back trying to like write a paper or turn in an assignment. So that was like not easy at all, but
I bet.
you get through it, you figure it out.
Right, right. It's a learning experience. And then also, like you said, having people surrounding you who are also on that same trajectory and not trying to be like, oh, girl, you can do your homework later. You can just go hang out with us. It's like, no, we all need to lock in. We all, got things to do.
Oh,
So
literally.
I like that. Those are important relationships to have for sure.
Yes.
So tell me, we're going to talk a little bit more about college and your studies and your track as well, but I want to know a little bit more about the beginning of track and field for you. So, were you one who also played multiple sports before choosing that one sport, or did you kind of instantly know that track and field was your sport? And then tell me about the dedication and time management and effort you put into it over all these years.
Oh man. So I started running when I was about 6 or 7 years old, and at the time I was also a competitive gymnast. So during the summers, I would kind of rotate days or leave gymnastics to go to the track. And my dad was actually coaching a youth track club at the time. So I'd leave gymnastics and then I'd just go to the practices with him. And eventually I started running at the practices, and then that just kind of that lasted for maybe 1 or 2 years because it's kind of hard for my parents to just be driving across town doing all these things. I mean, financially, I can't imagine a gymnast and then also trying to run track and then travel to all these meets and competitions. So I ended up going with track just because that's, I loved both, but something just told me go with track. So that's what I went with. And I was doing track, I was running track for maybe about a year or two until I picked up soccer in the off season. So until I was about, I'd say maybe 13 or 14 years old, I would do soccer in the fall just for like some conditioning and just to be moving around. and then track in the spring and summer. And I really, really enjoyed soccer just because I love running already. So it was fun to kind of just meet more connections. And through soccer, I also found some really good lifelong friends that ended up running. So it's really nice to have that community in Fayette County. Everyone kind of sticks together. And I ended up going to school with some of these girls, and I still keep in contact with some of them to this day. So that was really nice. Um, as I got older, I want to say maybe when I turned 13 is when things kind of got a little bit more serious. I had always known that I wanted to run collegiately. That had always just been a dream. Like, I want to run in college. And so when I turned 13, that was a pretty serious year for me. I had some, I was lucky to always be pretty in the mix, starting from like 7 all the way to about 12. But when I turned 13, it was my first year kind of facing adversity and not kind of being where I was competitively with other girls in my age group. So that was kind of something that was new for me to navigate. And I was just lucky to have such a strong support system with my dad being my coach, and then my mom as well, just really supporting me through that time and helping me change events and just find the passion for the sport again. Because unfortunately, I when you're not running well, it kind of does make things feel down in the dumps and things like that. But you just sometimes you have to switch things up, and I was able to find the love for the sport again. And then when I came back for my, at the top of the age group at 14 in summer track, I was able to hit the ground running, and it felt really good again. And then all the way through my high school years, I want to say I had a pretty good season in the eight. I definitely ended my high school season on a high note, and I was able to kind of bring some of that energy into my freshman year and now into my sophomore year. So kind of just I'm in the area of like navigating the adjustments that come with college right now. So it can be frustrating at times, but I know that I'm doing everything that I can, like on and off the track. So it's kind of just waiting for that right moment, the right race to finally have that breakthrough race.
Yeah, wow. Wow, there were a lot of great points in there, especially talking about, well, first I want to ask you follow up for gymnastics and soccer. As you got older and decided to go ahead and stick with one, I know it can be hard, especially when you've been putting a lot in your other sports as well. Do you ever like look back and be like, "Oh, I wonder how it would have turned out if I stuck with gymnastics or if I did soccer?" Or do you feel like, "Nah, track was my trajectory"?
I think track was always my trajectory, but it does always come up every now and then when I was back in high school at a really on a really hot day at a hot meet, and I'm sitting with my parents, and it's like, man, if only I chose gymnastics, we could be tired in the AC right now,
I would
you
have to
know?
worry about all this. Exactly.
But I think track was always my trajectory, and I think that I chose it for a reason at such a young age because my parents never pressured me to choose one. It was kind of like, well, what do you want to do? Like, which one do you like more? And I was like, well, I like track more. So that's kind of what we did, and we stuck with it.
Yeah. That's a good, yeah. That's really good. My parents to this day, because as you know, you probably know, I'm the only one out of all the children who did not do track. I did everything but track, and to this day, I kid you not, they'll always be like, "Makai, we really should have put you in track." I'm like, see, if y'all would have forced me, like my parents were like that too, where they were more like, "Okay, what do you want to do? Are you gonna take it serious?" They'll put us in it.
Yeah.
But if they would have forced me to do it, I mean, I wouldn't have any other choice, and I probably would have been good. I didn't know what I wanted to do for
Yeah,
real.
probably.
But
You probably would.
I don't like running. That's the only thing. Like, I don't want to run unless I have to. I love walking, but I don't like running. But yeah, it wasn't my cup of tea. Well, I don't know. I didn't think it was my cup of tea. I mostly was into volleyball, but I liked watching
Hmm.
track and field, like especially during the Olympics and watching y'all run and just grow with that. Like, I enjoy watching
Yeah.
it. I just don't know if I would have been enjoying getting on that track on a hot day having to compete.
Yeah. Yeah. It definitely takes a strong love for the sport on the super hot days, humid days, cold days, all of it. So you gotta love what you're doing to keep giving 100% each workout.
That's so true. So, one of your races, the Night of Champions for the 800-meter wing foot. You ran a state and meet record of 2:06 in 2023, I believe. Um, Tell
Yes.
me about that night and just how that felt to you and just your mindset going into that race. And once you realized you got the record, how was that whole night for you?
Oh, I remember that night very vividly. That season was kind of like a season where I had known I had been working out well. I'd been doing great workouts, but the races weren't correlating to those workouts, and I hadn't really had a good 800 race. So going into that week, I think there were definitely maybe three of us in the competition that kind of stood out that could potentially win it. Me being the only senior, I think, in that race. Um, it was a pride thing. I was like, I'm not about to go out as a senior and
Right?
lose. Like I'm not. I'm
Like, I
not.
have to win this.
I have to. But leading up to it, I felt I put a lot of pressure on myself, and I felt a lot of pressure just because technically I think I had the fastest PR. I was the senior. I had been doing this for X amount of years, but I kind of just channeled that, I guess you could say, anxiety into just like determination to go out and actually do what I need to do. And I mean, the race felt really good. I remember I ran it kind of comfortably. I sat for most of the race and then decided to kick around 600 meters. And once I went, I remember I was just running for my life because I was like, please don't get caught,
Right.
Isis, by someone
No.
younger than you. So I was sprinting for my life. I remember talking about it with some of my friends and family ended up coming to that meet because it was right in Tech, which is in Midtown, not too far from us. And I remember talking, they were like, we've never seen you sprint that fast at the end of an 800. And I was like, yeah, I was running for my life.
You're
I
like,
did not
I
want to
had no
get
other
caught.
choice.
I had no other choice. But I mean, it felt really good finally having that breakthrough race and coming away with the PR and then the record. I don't think I even knew I had a record until like after the fact. I was just happy I PR'd.
Yeah. Wow. I bet that was a wonderful feeling. Just a great accomplishment
Yeah.
when you're able to break through and see all your hard work kind of reach to fruition and feel like, okay, I am doing this for something. Like I'm finally,
Mm-hmm.
getting to that point.
Yeah.
Even you mentioned earlier about facing adversity and not running the times you wanted to with girls your age and just still waiting for that breakthrough and finally getting it. Um, how are you able to keep your mentality pretty sane throughout those times where you feel like I'm doing okay, but I want to do better, and I have so much potential, and I know I can do a lot more. But how do you not let that affect you in the present time, as well as just keep going and keep pushing forward?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, honestly, it's there's good days and bad days. Like sometimes it's easy to just tell yourself like, no, you're doing the best that you can. Like it will come, your time will come.
Right.
But obviously there's also those times where it's like it's just so much frustration with the fact that you're doing everything you can. The time is just not there. You really just have to put your trust in God. You have to put your trust in your coaches or whoever's coaching you in your workouts. For me, I think it's a lot about taking everything one step at a time and trusting God's plan for me. I know that I was blessed with a gift. I know that I have every right to be on the line with these other girls that I step up and compete with. Is kind of just taking the race one race at a time. I can't worry about what I did 2 years ago in high school. I can't worry about what I did 2 weeks ago at another collegiate meet. I have to just step up to the line and try and compete my best that race. And as long as I give my best each time I step on the line, I try and not get too caught up in the result if it's a bad result. If it's a bad result, all right, I tried my best, going back to the lab next week and hopefully running a better time.
Yeah, that's a very great mentality to have early on, especially with athletics, and it translates to life as well. I know a lot of athletes who come on here kind of have a similar like mentality and similar story, but it all connects because it's like, yeah, like you have to really just trust God's timing. You have to trust the process. And I don't, and even for me, like in life, there's a lot of things I'm waiting on, a lot of goals I have in mind. I know like I have potential to
Mm-hmm.
reach certain things, but it just hasn't been my time yet. And I'm like, Well, what am I doing? No, but it's like I think I've really started keying in and understanding the meaning of taking things day by day and moment by
Mhm.
moment, because it's easy to think about like, okay, but tomorrow I need to have this done, and then next week I need to be doing this. I need to be here, having a measuring stick for yourself, and it's great to achieve goals, but also just knowing that you're in the present in today. Like today, what are you gonna do to get yourself
Exactly.
better? Today, what are you gonna do to get closer to that goal little by little? So it's
Mhm.
very it's an ongoing lesson I have to learn. I feel like every time I feel like I have it, I always like have to repeat it again. But I like that you said that because it very much is something that I have to always focus on. Like take it day by day. Like your time is coming.
Day
Just
by day.
be patient.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
So you just mentioned that the Wingfoot meet was at Georgia Tech. You also had an aunt that you have an aunt that ran at Tech as well, and your parents, like you mentioned, they were your coaches. They are in athletics. Your little brother is into track and field as well. Did you ever feel any pressure when it came to choosing colleges? And we can talk about your journey to OSU as well, but when it came to choosing colleges and staying in state and looking at certain levels and what you wanted, did you ever feel any pressure to stay in Georgia or go to Tech or pick somewhere? I don't know, that kind of align with that, or
Yeah.
yeah, flexibility.
Well, it's funny you say that. My dad also ran track. Well, so my aunt ran track at Georgia Tech, and then my dad was recruited to play football at Duke University and also did track in their off season. So during the whole process, I was looking at Duke as one of my schools, and a lot of people thought that that is where I was going to commit to, just because I don't know. I guess really a lot of people really thought I was going to commit there just because that's where my dad went, and I guess a valid assumption, but not at any point did I ever feel any type of pressure. I mean, my parents were really good at just kind of supporting me through the way, and I kind of knew what I wanted in a school as well. So like if a school didn't have that on my visit, then I was like no, and that was kind of it. I was like I didn't really care to stay home. I felt like it was important for me to step outside of Georgia just because I had been here all my life. And I think that it helped kind of build me as a person, just being able to live on my own so far away from my family and kind of navigate certain things that, you kind of just run to your dad or mom about. Now you got to figure it out on your own because they're 600 miles
Mhm.
away. So I never felt any pressure, and I'm happy that I was able to kind of experience life in Oklahoma.
Yeah, it is a big change from Georgia. He was just telling me before we started recording how cold it was and how it's
Oh,
just like crazy. They shut down the campus today. Like that's, ooh, I can't even.
it's so cold. I had to go and buy like an ice scraper for the first time, and I had to use that this morning to go to practice. I was like, this wouldn't be happening if I was in Georgia.
Oh my God. Wow. Yeah, that's definitely an adjustment. And then, like you said, they're many miles away and just having to navigate life by yourself. But I guess it also is great because it builds your maturity up and your independence. Um,
Mm-hmm.
wow, that's really neat. What were some of the top things you were looking for when it came to choosing schools that were like no brainers and it has to be this or nothing?
Okay. I The first thing, it sounds so like high maintenance to say, but for me, it was like I'm kind of a introverted person. And so for me, it was like, what's the living situation like? Am I gonna have to live with my teammates? Am I gonna have to like share? Is it communal? I was just like, I don't know about all this. So I'm not gonna lie, that was like a really big, that was a no brainer. That was like, I told one school no because of that. I was like, I can't spend all this time. You spend so much time with your teammates. I can't spend all this time with someone and then feel like I have to go back and be social when I go home. So for me, it was important. I live in a studio off campus by myself now, and I lived by myself my freshman year. So that was kind of important for me just because it's also like just to protect your mental health. Like, obviously, you love your teammates and you love them for their success, but it's like you never know the type of hostility that you have if you're rooming with someone that you work out with them for 3 hours in the morning. You go you eat breakfast and dinner with these teammates. You lift with them. So then to come home with them and like say one's outperforming the other, who's to say there's no type of hostility when you come back home? And no one wants that stress after a long day of all this and then classes. So that was really important for me. And then another really, really important thing for me on all of my visits, Oklahoma State was my fifth and final visit because when I took visits, you could only take five. There was a limit on them. At all of the ones prior to Oklahoma State, I felt like I was on a tour. I felt like I was kind of on a vacation. I just didn't feel at ease. Like, obviously, it's nothing like stressful in the process. I mean, yeah, it's time consuming and you're kind of shaking and moving, but everything kind of felt like I just had to, like, go see this, go see that. Everything's shaking and moving. But when I came to Oklahoma State, which was probably one of the busiest as far as things to get done in the day, I just felt calm. I felt like I was like at home. Like, I felt just at ease. So that was really when I went back to look at all of my pros and cons from the visits, it was like that was the only one I didn't feel like I was like checking off a to-do list. Like I had to like, well, yeah, you have to go and visit this. Oklahoma State felt like, no, I mean, I wanted to visit it. It was a good visit and I really, really connected with the girls here and the coaches, and that's kind of what ended up bringing me out here to Stillwater was the girls. Is we have such an amazing connection with everyone, and it's a really good team environment always.
Wow. That is very
Yeah.
important. And I honestly feel you on the not wanting to like not saying not wanting to room with your teammates, but also that tension. It can definitely cause a lot of tension. And I feel like that's a fair request or a fair thing to look at because like you said, like just protect your peace, protect your mentality. Like I'm not
Yes.
trying to see y'all every 24/7 now. Like
No.
like I gotta see when I come home. It's like
Yes.
they say rooming with your best friend. Sometimes it's either really good or really bad. Like I feel like there's no
Really
in
bad.
between. Like either y'all just best friends, y'all sisters that can really tough it out, or it's we're cool. But if I gotta live with you and really gotta deal with your habits, I'm trying to see how I like
Yeah,
this.
exactly. And that was something I just didn't want to deal with. I was like, I'm already so far away from home. Once I come home, I just want to be at ease.
Yeah,
I don't want
your
to
space.
run the possibility of anything. Yeah.
Right.
So,
That's so fair. I totally agree with
yeah.
that. I feel like just having your own time at the end of the day to just unwind and relax and having to worry about anybody up and walking around. I'm like, oh, can I just have my own moment? I
Can I
feel
have my peace, please? I
right.
know.
Exactly. Wow. What do you think is one of your best moments you've had at Oklahoma State so far?
Mm, my goodness. I'd say my freshman year at conference was one of the best moments just because my freshman year was also like kind of like one of those things where the 800 indoors wasn't going that well for me um indoors, and so once I got to conference, I did the 600 yard and I had a really good race and I ended up medaling. So that was kind of like that definitely lifted my spirits a lot because like I said, like you can have those doubts and sometimes it gets to a point where as much as you try and tell yourself, you just need something to kind of happen so that you
Yes.
can remember like the purpose in all of this. And
Right.
that was one of those races for me. It really helped me get my head back on my shoulders and feel ready to kind of transition back into outdoor.
Wow. Yeah, I that's really nice. And I really do agree with that. Like you said, like we know that there's a bigger plan, we know there's a bigger picture that we're striving for, but sometimes we just need that one
Mhm.
thing to kind of push us forward to say like, okay, you're on the right track. Just keep moving.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
that's really fair. I like that memory. I bet that was a really like long lasting memory that you're able to take with you even post college. Like
Yeah,
that'd be great.
it was, especially because my grandparents ended up flying down, my aunt and my parents and brother. So my whole family was also here or also there to watch me and watch me compete that race. So it was nice because obviously you do get a little homesick at some point, and meeting up with them in Lubbock, it was nice. It's always nice when my family comes and visits me because I do love them so much.
Aw, that's yeah, that is always a very special moment. Do they visit you pretty often, or do you go home pretty often?
They in the indoor season, they usually come to maybe like one or two meets. So they're coming to conference again this year, and then they visited me for homecoming the past 2 years, which is really fun because OSU brings so many people into the tiny old
Yeah.
Stillwater. So it's usually so much fun. But um, I went home once my freshman year in the fall, and then so it was nice seeing them like before the season had started because I was starting to get a little homesick. So my coach was able to. He was like, "Yeah, you can go. You can
Nice.
go."
Nice. I bet
Yeah,
that was such a great moment to be like, all right, yes, I can just have a little mini vacation back at home and just see my family and friends and just chill for a little bit and then snap back into reality.
I know. Then I had to snap back into work mode, student
Yeah,
mode. But it was fun. I really enjoyed being home.
that's good. Wow. So, are you currently majoring in public health or is it still public health?
I am currently I'm pre-nursing technically, so
Nice.
I've just applied to nursing school.
Okay, wow. Congrats in advance.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So, what led you to nursing and what appeals to it? What appeals for it for you?
Well, in high school, you I had mentioned earlier like the dual enrollment pathway and things like that. So we had also like a healthcare type of pathway. You know, you can do engineering, healthcare, culinary, a few
I
others,
remember that they did have
business.
those little, yeah, tracks you can go on.
Yeah. And so I dabbled in all of those others and I was like, I don't
Mhm.
like it that much. But when it came to healthcare, I was like, no, I really, really like this. Like, I really love helping people. I love making people feel better. Um, it it genuinely just interests me. I love learning about the human body. I love learning how things work, why our body reacts to certain things. So I was a part of a club in high school called HOSA, it's like Health Occupational Students of America, and I was the president for that for a year or two, and then my senior year, I decided that I wanted to do the dual enrollment and spend the first 3 hours of my day at a hospital shadowing a charge nurse. And so that really helped me. It really clarified. Like, I always knew I wanted to go into healthcare prior to that. But once I saw that, it was kind of like a make it or break thing because you're following a charge nurse and what she does in her day. So you see all of it. So I did see all of it. I've seen the thick of it, and I was like, well, no, I still want to do it. So, coming into college in 2023, they did not have, OSU didn't have a nursing program. It was new fall of 2023. So, I quickly changed my major. I was a public health major, but I changed it before I even got
Oh
here.
wow,
So,
it worked out nice.
yeah, I was able to start that process, and I'm in a bunch of the prereqs for that now, and hopefully starting the program next fall.
Nice. Wow, it worked out. Great timing that it was just starting up when you got there. You were able
Yeah.
to kind of get into the program while it's fresh and early, and then you to
Mm-hmm.
next year. So great.
Yeah. I always say like it was meant to be because it literally was like a brand new program. The whole
Um,
time I had been getting recruited by OSU, they were like, nope, no nursing. You'll have to figure out something else. And then once I got here, it was really nice to know that they had that just to shave off some of that time, with because ultimately I want to be a nurse anesthetist and go on to CRNA school. So hopefully getting my bachelor's in nursing now will kind of just start the process a
there
little
we
bit
go.
faster without having to take so much time.
Yeah, I agree. That would be really amazing. I'm excited to see you go through that journey. That's exciting.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. So with track and field for female athletes, we also well, I say we as if I'm an athlete. We also like to focus on beauty as well. And I've noticed that in your meets or even just like any picture I've seen you in recently, like you'll usually have yourself nice and did up, like you'll have your lashes and your hair and makeup all done. What are some beauty tips you would like to give to other female athletes? Things that you've learned yourself that have been working for you during your weeks, during your hot sweaty summers and just like in the cold winters.
Mm-hmm.
But then also, what are some brands you like to partner with if you were to give an opportunity?
Oh, okay. So my first tip of advice, or what I always say was when sometimes people ask me, why do you like put on so much makeup to go run, or why do you like want to do this if you're just gonna like sweat it off or something? And my mentality behind it is feel good, race good. So if I feel confident and if I feel like I'm just the baddest thing out here, like who can stop me?
Right.
No one can stop. So I like the confidence that it invokes in myself. So I'm gonna do that because it makes me feel good. I don't do it for intention. I just like it because that's what I like.
Right.
Um, so I also think when you just look good on a down day, like, man, I just like maybe you just had like a bad workout, maybe school's like kind of stressing you out. But if I can look in the mirror and say, at least I'm pretty, like at least I look
Right.
good, like I'll take it. Like
Exactly. Like, I mean, hey, at least
so
you look good. So I can't. When is
at
when?
least I look good. At least my hair's done. Like
Right. Exactly. I may be having a bad
but
day, but at least I look good having a bad day. Or
at least
I
I
might,
look good having it.
right. Or I want a raise and I look good doing it. So it can be like either one. Like, hey,
Yeah,
I
exactly.
feel that.
Exactly. So I really like the confidence that it brings in me. And then as far as future brands I'd like to work with, um, let's see. Oh, I don't know. I mean, all of the brands I probably use on a day-to-day basis, as far as like makeup and then like my skincare. But the one I'd probably use the most or want to work with the most, um, maybe Anua, which is like a Korean skincare line. I really, really have been loving their products. And then probably makeup wise, Juvia's Place, just because it's black owned. I really like their products. I like the inclusivity there, and I just really like the
Yeah.
products. So I'd probably go with those two, or maybe even NARS Cosmetics. I really like
Y'all
NARS.
heard it here first. Go sponsor
Yeah.
her.
Please. Oh, and actually, I will say, completely off of like beauty and sponsors, I would love this is one brand I would love to work with, Olipop. It's a brand for like or a brand that does sodas that's good for your gut health and things like that. I would love it if they sponsored me. I've been trying to like send them emails, so hopefully they can get back to me one
It'll
day.
happen. It'll happen. Y'all heard it. Go sponsor. She'll be y'all's biggest ambassador. She's gonna ride hard for y'all. Like she got it.
I already do. I
There we
already
go.
do.
Like she's been telling all her friends, all her teammates, other schools. Come on.
Come on.
I love that. It's gonna happen. I'm gonna see a post and be like, oh, we were just talking about this.
We were just talking about it.
Exactly. For the makeup, my mom also likes Olipop. My dad has gotten into it too. I'm not a huge soda drinker, but I do want to try a few of their flavors because it is, like you say, really good for you, good for your gut health, and good for a lot of great, probiotics, all that stuff. So I definitely want to kind of get into it every once in a while and kind of like taste a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then for the makeup, I also so I'm not like huge on makeup, but I know how to do it when I need to, like a little eyeliner,
Mm-hmm.
little lashes, and whatnot. Juvia's Place, funny, well, not really that funny of a story, but my nana got me this eyeshadow palette. I don't even want to say how long ago that she got it for me, but I still use it to this day when it comes to like, oh, a cute little like nose contour, like a little eyeshadow on the
Mm-hmm.
outer edges. I'm like, oh, this is like the perfect palette. Like I don't have to do too much.
Exactly.
So that would be a good one. And Korean skincare, I really want to get into more Korean skincare. The only one that I've had, I don't know if you heard CosRX, like the snail mucin.
Yeah, yes. I've seen the snail mucin. I'm familiar with that, yeah.
That's the only one, only like Korean skincare that I have, and I love it because it makes my skin very like glowy and just healthy feeling. It's moisturized, but it feels like it's slimy, but it's like good type of slimy. Like okay, this feels like it's working. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? But I want to try different. What's the brand you said for your Korean skincare?
Anua.
Anyway,
It's Anua. ANUA.
anyway, okay. I feel like I've heard of them.
Yeah.
Okay,
And they
cool.
just started selling it at Ulta. They just started selling it at Ulta, so it's really nice.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna check that out. Thank you for the recommendation.
Yeah. Of
Yay. Okay.
course.
Wow. So we've gotten down to our last question. If you had a piece of advice, whether you've gotten it or learned it over the years, that you like to give to an athlete who's also going through or will go through what you've been through, what would it be?
Okay. Um, I actually have it in my phone
Okay.
because I like to remember this, and I shared it with our our Bible study group chat that we have on with my teammates the other day. Let me see. I'm gonna find it. Okay, this is it. Success is not an elevator; it's a set of stairs. God leads you step by step. So that is something that I really, really resonate with just because oftentimes you can get caught up in the moment of like it's not happening fast enough. I wish I was running faster now. And you think it's just gonna happen overnight and it's just gonna take you up to where you need to be at the top. But that's not how life is. That's not how sports will go. It's gonna be a step by step process. Whereas whoever it is leading you up those steps, you have to know that it's going to take time. It's going to take, you might trip over a step, but it's up to you to like get back up, stand on your 2 feet, and keep trying to reach the next step. So just remembering that, I think even this season has really helped me to realize like, okay, it's not happening now, but that doesn't mean that it won't ever happen.
Right.
You know, you might be delayed, but you're not denied.
There we
So
go.
just remembering those things is really helpful for me.
Yeah, I like that. And that's a great reminder for me as well. And I'm sure a lot of listeners can resonate with that as well, because it just feels like success will be our ultimate end goal and this is where we need to be. But it's like you said, it's what you do up until that point, up to that, like leading those steps up to that point every day to kind of like determine your success. And like you said, just because it's not happening right now, it doesn't mean it's never going to happen. There might be something you need to learn in this season before you get to that point. It might be some things you have to go through in order to
Exactly.
open those
Hmm.
doors. So I like that.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
Wow. Wow. Thank you so much, Isis, for coming up here and talking with me. It's really great and
Of
refreshing to
course.
people who I knew when I was younger, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you're growing up so much, and there's like young ladies now. It's so
Yeah.
cool. I love that. I'm very, very proud of you and all the people from Dry Face who are growing up and doing great things and just enjoying their college life and making the most out of their journey. Where can people find you on social media?
Okay, on social media, you can follow me on Instagram at Isis Simone with 3 E's and underscore. And then I think my TikTok handle is the same. I'm not actually too sure. Yeah, my TikTok and Instagram is both ISISSYMONEEE underscore. So you can find me there.
Nice. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming up here and talking with me.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. It was awesome to kind of just share my journey, and it's something that I love to talk about because it has those ups and downs, but it also shows that like you can get there and like anything is possible if you just keep on staying determined and keep on trying.
There we go. That's the lesson for today.